She went to a wealthy family's home to apply for a nanny job, but during the interview, her dress suddenly tore, trying to hide the embarrassment. She quickly tied her jacket around herself. Just then, the man of the house walked over, warmly greeting her. Louisa Clark. Louisa never expected that small gesture would actually leave such a good impression. The lady of the house thought she seemed graceful, polite, and respectful, and hired her on the spot with a surprisingly generous salary of $500 a month. But this job was far from easy. Louisa was hired to care for their son, Will. Will had been paralyzed for years. "You're probably terrified already." His biting sarcasm hit her right away. In that instant, Louisa realized this job was nothing like she imagined, but she had no other choice. Her entire family depended on her. Her father was unemployed. Her mother was a stay-at-home mom with no income. Her sister was still in college, unable to work. Louisa was the only one keeping things together. So the next day, she showed up for work. That's when the doctor told her, aside from giving Will his medication on time, she didn't need to do anything else. But Louisa felt uneasy about that. With pay that high, she thought she ought to do more. After a bit of self-talk, she finally worked up the courage to speak to Will. She suggested going outside for some fresh air, but he cut her off immediately. He didn't want to go anywhere. He just wanted to sit. Louisa was caught off guard. She searched for the right words, and when she finally tried to say something, Will coldly told her to leave. Even so, Louisa refused to give up. She began wearing bright, colorful clothes every day. The quiet, polite approach wasn't working, so she tried being bold instead. At first, Will was simply surprised, but as time went on, her fashion choices became impossible to ignore. Unlike everyone else who tiptoed around him, Louisa treated him like a normal person. Her clumsy, fearless nature often led to awkward moments, like dropping food on him or trying to fix a mess with a hairdryer. But for Will, those moments lit a spark of life again. He actually began looking forward to seeing her. Louisa herself didn't notice the changes she was making. Will still seemed cold and distant, until one day, his ex-girlfriend and best friend came to visit. They looked uneasy, and then admitted the truth. They were now together. On the surface, Will looked calm, but inside, he was shattered. After they left, Louisa heard a loud crash from his room. She rushed in and found he had smashed a photo of himself with his ex. As a man trapped in a broken body, he couldn't even release his anger properly. So how could he ever give the woman he loved the life she deserved? After the accident, he had cut off all contact with his girlfriend. He didn't want her to see him like this. Louisa felt a wave of sympathy, so she carefully pieced the broken frame back together, hoping he could at least keep one good memory. But Will exploded with anger and lashed out at her on the spot. Louisa couldn't understand why he always pushed people away with cruel words. But this time, she didn't back down. "It's not because I care about you, or because I actually enjoy being around you. It's because I need the money. I really need it." And for once, he didn't argue. Maybe he finally realized how hard Louisa's life really was. Maybe he didn't want to make it harder. From that day forward, his attitude began to shift. And then something unexpected happened. He invited Louisa to watch a movie with him. She got completely lost in the story. And when she caught him watching her instead of the screen, she melted into the moment. He quietly savored her joy. Afterwards, they discussed the film. That short conversation lit a spark between them. They grew closer and closer. Will even started smiling again and slowly began venturing outside. Everyone around him was stunned. Even his doctor said, "It's been ages since I've seen him this happy." Louisa felt proud. But just as things seemed to be improving, Will came down with a cold. It shouldn't have been a big deal, but for Will, it was dangerous. That night, Louisa didn't go home. She chose to stay and look after him. She'd always wondered how he ended up this way. She wanted to ask, but worried it would sound insensitive. Thankfully, Will didn't mind. He told her it was a car accident. Louisa felt deep sorrow for him. So, that night, she shared silly stories from her childhood, sang goofy songs, even confessed her own regrets. Outside, a snowstorm raged, but inside, Will drifted peacefully to sleep beside her. From that night on, everything changed. Will couldn't imagine life without her. At her suggestion, he even shaved off the scruffy beard he'd kept for years. It was like shedding a piece of the life he'd lost. Louisa was thrilled, but her excitement didn't last. One day, she overheard Will's parents arguing, and in that moment, she discovered Will had been keeping a secret, a massive secret, one that could turn Louisa's entire world upside down.